It's late, but it's okay. After last night, I am just grateful to know where both sets of my keys are. I got the car keys. I got the keys to the center. I got it all. And I also have water that my physical therapist and Kaiser are recommending I drink copious amounts of, even at almost 11 o'clock. You know, yet another day when I was going to do something that, well, I don't know if you guys are going to think it's fun, but it's certainly going to be fun for me. We are starting The Good Place, and one of the things I wanted to give you, and I still may, I mean, I can stick around here as long as I want, a interview with Dr. Scanlon, whose theories form the basis of The Good Place, contractual ethics. He did an amazing interview with a really good Frenchman. And I want to show that to you and share that with you so that you can have a foundational base for when we get into ethics in a big way. I'm going to do that later, but first, I cannot escape this. What are we going to say? I have a group that I want to tell you about, and it's about me, and that's why I titled this. Hold on, I want to make sure that I get it right because I worked hard on the Dr. Seuss meter, because, you know, Lace on Race is a take on Dr. Seuss, Hop on Pop, right? So check this out. I think you're going to like it. Hold on. Lace on Race is off base, says those on the case who collectively lack an iota of grace. I think I nailed the meter, and yes, I'm absolutely proud of myself. There are people who are going to be dropping some links down below here, and we will also be using those same links in the essay. Well, it's more like just commentary. There's a few things. There is a Facebook group, and there's also now an Instagram account with an incredibly, and I do mean incredibly unflattering picture of me. You'll see it, but I want you to see it first. Oh my goodness, it's not great. Hold on. One of the funny things about me running an online presence, which they say have a big fat problem with, is that I am the least technologically adept of anybody you're ever going to meet. So, and also, even though these are technically readers, I end up looking over them. Hold on. Here I go. I'll make it bigger for you. I'll see if I can, or I'll just give it to you. This is what they want you to see. There is a Facebook group called Lace Off Base, which is another little riff on Dr. Seuss, and you know me, I am always going to be okay with Dr. Seuss. So, here we go. Where is it? Gotta go this way. That's it. See the wolf in sheep's clothing and me in a really unflattering picture? Now, I'm not all that much smaller, so I can't pretend that the picture is inaccurate. It's accurate. I really like that shirt, though. That is a hand-painted shirt that I got about 20 years ago, and I'm so careful with it. I wore it up to Northern California to honor a person who I thought was a friend of mine's, her mother. I went up to see her and went on a trip I did not want to take. My own mother here in San Diego was in and out of ICUs and nursing homes then, in September of 2020. But when I told her that I thought that I was called to take this trip, despite my trepidation and despite my really not being a traveler, I mean, come on, y'all. Until very recently, I took a toothbrush and an extra set of skivvies to go 30 miles up to Oceanside. And here I was going to Sacramento. But it did it because I felt someone needed me. And they were quite persistent. So I went. It wasn't a vacation. That was work. I'm serious. I brought all of my spiritual direction skills, all of my addiction counseling skills to those 5 days. I was spent. I was glad to be there. I'm glad I kept a promise to a person who, again, I thought was a friend. And so I am not at all upset about the choices that I made. In fact, I'm not even upset about that picture. I mean, because it is me. I'm a big un. Everybody knows that. There is not a lot of skeletal going on in this chocolate marshmallow fluff that you see here. Now, I'm smaller than I was 2 years ago, but that just means there's a little bit less marshmallow fluff, and we're going to call like pecans muscles. So there's more pecans in this chocolate fluff, which is great. I'm grateful for it. But make no mistake, that wasn't a vacation. That was a choice, and I'm glad I made the choice. I'd make it again. Done in service to a woman and to her mother, who in fact I'm sitting next to. It's cropped out, but that's where I was. A woman I had never met before and was on edge the entire time. I was there to support. I was there to be a witness. And I was. And it got turned on its head later in February of 2022. But we can talk about that later, because we want to talk about the group. Lace off base. I am off base on a lot of things. I am off base on Alfredo sauce. That's why I buy the jars. It is really so hard to make Alfredo sauce not separate. So, I would just like to thank Aldi and also the new store, who I won't tell you about because everyone's going to know about it. And then the next thing, my little secret is going to be all over San Diego. But it really is the best store in San Diego right now. Better than Valley Farms. Better than Fraser Farms. That's saying a lot. Love Fraser Farms on Fletcher Parkway. But this store is Latino owned and Middle Eastern owned. I think it's a co-joint. And it is an amazing store that has the best of both worlds. The area that it's in is revitalizing, but not gentrifying. And we're going to talk about that. What's the difference between revitalization and gentrification? And one of the things that happened is that a store that's been around for decades and decades. When I was younger, it was actually called Big Bear, which was a small San Diego chain. Then it had various iterations of independent supermarkets that were of varying quality. And so when this one came and took over, I was saying, oh, I'm sure they just changed the name. And then something happened. The best chicken sandwich in San Diego is right next to the supermarket. In fact, it's part of the supermarket. And I had heard so many good things about it that it put Popeyes to shame. You're right, it does. And so when I was waiting for my chicken about a month ago, I had 15 minutes. So I walked around the store. And let me tell you, this store is exactly what it should look like. There are high-end things in the store that you would find in I'm using high-end stores in San Diego County, in a Keels or a Wegmans. There are also stores that cater to a more modest cohort, and they're side by side. That's the way it should look, y'all. That's the way it should look. And so after I got my stuff today, because I'd gotten a sandwich at the chicken place, and then I got some things so that I could go up to Miramar and have lunch with my mom. No more Taco Bell. My body can't take it. So I've got to get healthier stuff. And I did. I got some really healthy stuff. And Mom and I had the chicken and we talked. It was great. It was great. And I didn't spend a whole lot of time with, partially because I didn't know Lace Off Base, but I did talk to her about some other groups that excite me so much, and people that have spoken into my life over the last month that have been absolutely amazing. I've already told you guys about the fact that I am now on the panel of Black Leaderships for Mennonite Mission Network, which is a agency that relates to Mennonite Church USA. The cult leader is going to be helping to direct policy in marginalized communities and in urban ministries all across the country. We're going to be part of not just conferences, not just seminars, not just the people at the top, but going into congregations and saying, hey, you're a part of us too. And someone like me who can go in and say, you've got something to say, and I'm going to help you say it. And I get to do that. I get to do that on a meta level, and I'm going to get to do it on a micro level. In fact, one of my first duties for being on this panel, this advisory board, is that I am going to go back after 20 years to the conference where I was once a board member. And I may or may not I probably won't keynote, but I may get a chance to speak. And I think that's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be exciting to take the message of Lace on Race that Mennonite Church USA doesn't seem to think is off base to a larger, wider audience. Nothing excites me more, except maybe this. We have been working with both governments and corporations. So exciting. I have said for a long time that as excited as I am about taking the message of Lace on Race, lessening and mitigating the harm endured by brown and black people, perpetuated by white people and white supremacy, and by the way, what's controversial about that? A lot! A lot! But we've been uncompromising about it. We make sure that if someone says, can you come? And we say, sure we can. You should check out the website and check out the Facebook page and perhaps interview me, because you need to know what you're buying and be completely prepared for them to say no thank you. You'd be amazed at how many people say yes. How many people say yes? Corporations, organizations, church groups, grassroots groups. But as excited as I am to share the method of Lace on Race, and I am excited. Nothing gets my blood going more. I might need to get more water. But let me tell you what excites me even more. The fact that the leadership team that Lace Off Base wants you to know. Oh, I need to read you what the group, because I want you to go there. Go there. Lace Off Base. That's what it is. I think you might have to be invited in, because one of the things that this group is doing is their private messaging and sending friend requests to people who are in Lace on Race. There is indeed a picture of me, and I cannot tell yet, but that might be up there. But you already saw the picture. But one of the things that they're saying is, here it is. Hold on. There it is. I tell you, you would think that for a cult leader who spreads dangerous misinformation, I would be a lot more tech savvy, but I'm not. But so you have to wait. You have to wait. Hold on. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Here it is. This is the group. Lace Off Base. I want to make sure you get it. Lace off, because like lace is off base. Lace is wrong. This is their indictment. I'm sure I don't know what they're going to do now. I'm not them. Thank God. Thank God. But here's what they're saying. Sorry, got to take it far away and look through the progressives. Here we go. Group created to debate the controversial Lace on Race, new people doing new things in new ways. They have a problem with that. They have a problem with transformation in service to racial justice. Okay. An inordinate amount of detractors. They really need, if I knew who they were, I would send them a thesaurus so that they could use words other than detractors, because at this point it's kind of overused. People that don't like me, people who make fun of my wigs, people who make fun of my purpley blue eyeshadow, people who have said mean things about my dog and my mother. I mean, there are lots of synonyms for detractors. They should find some. Anyway, some questions have included, where did the donations go? And why has the majority whiteboard faced significant departures, 5 out of 20 in almost 5 years? I think we're doing pretty good. But anyway, this is the second paragraph. And it's pretty factually true. Let's read it. Let's read it. You know, it always does that. I'm sitting here and the Facebook, you know, left is right, right is left. It's crazy. Anyway, Lace Watkins is currently the executive director of Lace on Race, a formal nonprofit operating virtually, not only virtually, but we'll go with that, where she is paid a salary. Woo! Again, I'm trying hard, and has medical insurance. Also true. There is a small office space where she will often record videos mentioning her detractors. I also write essays here. I also abide with people here. I also, when I'm listening to lectures and things and doing research, I also do my nails here. This is what I'm currently using. It's not as silver as I had hoped, but I do a lot of things here. I usually eat breakfast and, well, not always breakfast. I'm not really a breakfast person. Lunch and dinner here. And what else do I do here? I forget to dust, but I don't have to worry about it because we've got a custodian. And read a lot and do Zoom calls with people when I am doing Zoom abiding or with groups or other organizations. But now, since the restrictions are lifted, I can have people here. I got to tell you, sometimes it's been a little lonely because Zoom can only do so much. A video can only do so much. And so when I'm doing one-on-one abiding, it's always great to be able to see as Peter D. Kramer says, to be able to see not just the words and not just the two-dimensional person, but the grunts and the sighs and the white spaces, what they don't say being as important as what they do say. I hold to that. I hold to that. Oh, here it is. So this is their final paragraph. While this group will not censor content, and the least flattering to me, I'm sure that they're going to put it in big, bright, fluorescent letters with like flashing lights and everything. It may use other tools if necessary. That sounds ominous. But anyway, Lace Watkins has been accused several times of using cult-like practices. They've softened their stance a little bit. Now they don't call me a cult leader, but they do say cult-like stances. Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about that. Those of you who know me, including most of the people who are currently on this Facebook page, except they're too cowardly to use their real names and faces, which has been a recurring theme over the last 15 months. They want me to know we used to be in the Lace on Race community. And I want to get serious for a minute. I have no doubt that most of them were, or at least on the periphery. I have no doubt that at least one of them served as an intern. And one of the things that I have talked about with my own coaches and mentors and spiritual directors, and by the way, let me just tell you, let's see, Mennonite, agnostic, but a contractualist in terms of psychology and moral philosophy. Let's see, Disciples of Christ, Natch, go to a Disciples of Christ church. Some other people who do not have rigid church affiliation, but are pretty schooled in areas of sociology, theology, not just mainline Christian, which is where I make my home, LDS, all over the place. But those people are the people where it matters if Lace is off base. I have placed myself under submission to and under the direction of people for my entire professional life. In grassroots work, in electoral politics, working for the government, working for churches. There has always been someone to whom I look up to and who I imitate. That is how it's done. There's nothing cult-like about that. If we were using Christian terminology, you know what we call it? We'd call it discipleship. If we were using secular terminology, we'd call it coaching. All learning is both academic learning and character learning. Learning how to be the person that you say you want to be. That's all imitation and inculcation and internalization. Those are a lot of words that start with I. And you would be very surprised that a country hick like me can use big words like that. But there you go. Oh my goodness. I read that and I think I'm supposed to be ashamed of that. I'm supposed to be ashamed of that. I'm supposed to be ashamed that I have a board who is living out the idea that a black woman should be paid modestly but well. And frankly, if I slip on a banana peel, you want there to be something in place so that the next person who follows me will also be treated fairly and well and justly, which is the whole point of the North Star. I'll say it again because I'm contractually obligated. Lessening and mitigating the harm endured by black and brown people, perpetuated by white people and white supremacy. Let's talk about this. I don't know the ethnicity or the racial identity of the people who are in lace-off base. I want to keep on saying it because I want to make sure you go. They want attention. They want eyeballs and page views and engagement. Give it to them. But in any case, I think that it's really important to be able to talk about the idea that in general, you know, I really do have one ear that's lower than the other. Since I've been doing videos for the last 2 years, I've always had to adjust my glasses for Facebook. Anyway, that this is something that's considered bad. Just like earning nonprofit status through the IRS is considered a bad thing. Oh my gosh, I wanted to shout it off the rooftops. We actually have been a nonprofit since January of 2022, retroactive to 2021. That means any donations that you give are indeed tax deductible. And baby, let me tell you, the IRS goes through quite the process. So if we are good enough for IRS eyeballs, lovingly, we're good enough for you. In terms of our fiscal governance, in terms of our bylaws, in terms of our mandated reporting to the IRS and to the Franchise Tax Board, because we are located in California, we do it all. When they say these people who are not part of the community, because here's the thing, I do have a board and I also have members. If you are a registered member of the Lace on Race Cafe, which is the nickname for the Lace on Race Center for Racial Justice, and you've registered like a boss, unlike these cowards, with your real name and your real face, Jenna, then you're part of the community. You're welcome to sit down and look at everything we do. We are in absolute compliance with all IRS regulations. It's fun. I think we got a letter kicked back to us last week, but it's not a big deal. The overarching is that, you know, that's administrative. Let's tackle the idea of my salary. I make about $48,000 a year, which is about a third of what the average executive director makes for an organization of our reach and scope and influence. I'm not complaining about it. Not complaining. That's a lot more than a lot of creators and influencers and thinkers are receiving. But I'm not going to apologize for it at all. Yes, I get health insurance. In fact, the endowment that they haven't mentioned, but that they've given me a lot of flack for, was originally, and my intern was in on all of these conversations, every one of them. was originally meant to cover my health insurance, until which time I would be eligible for Medicare, anywhere from between 62 and 65. So the funds, we negotiated it unrestricted so that we could do what we needed to do with them. And that, indeed, being able to have health insurance allowed me to retire from my county job so that I could do this full time. What's the problem? That a family decided that they liked what we were doing. And let's talk about this family for a minute. No rubes, they. No unsavvy people, they. No, they run a tech company. They're pretty darn savvy. They know what they're doing. They funded other initiatives before, and the fact that they've chosen to fund us at the level that they chose to fund us in 2020, and my intern is very well aware of it because she was in on every single conversation. So whatever she's telling you is a misrepresentation. I am humbled. I am humbled that someone at a family, that any of you who contribute $5, $50, however much, trust my methodology, trust my premise, trust my thesis, and trust my character. Speaking of which, I'm a character references, whatever. I've also been asked to sit the board of a couple of more organizations. Actually, the Liaison Race Center for Racial Equity has been invited to sit the board, but I'm the one who's going to be doing the Zoom calls and drinking the water, unless I can't, in which case someone else sits. But the Center for Prophetic Imagination, one of the preeminent for when it comes to progressive, what it really looks like to be progressive in following the way. That used to be called a cult. But a lot of people don't want to use Christian anymore because there's so many pejoratives, and a lot of sometimes bad actors have co-opted that term. So they say Jesus followers. So they say followers of the way. And by the way, we're going to be resurrecting Lace on Faith. I put something out for Lace on Faith today because the only way that I can truly, really get down and dirty, not in a bad sense, but really be as candid as I can, is to speak in theological terms and in some God talk. I am very aware that Lace on Race as a whole, as a center, is a secular space. So when I want to talk about grace, when I want to talk about justification, when I want to talk about things that really are best expressed in either commentary or scripture, I should probably do it under the umbrella of Lace on Faith. I've already talked about this. Here's my faith journey. Missionary Baptist to Wesleyan Methodist, Holiness Arminian. After that, a brief stint with United Methodists. Then a fairly long stint with Mennonite Church USA. Used to be called something else before integration. And like I said, I had a very minuscule but real role in making sure that a racial justice praxis was into their confession of faith from a Mennonite perspective. Yeah, they took that clause from a cult leader. Yeah. And then Anglican Episcopalianism here at St. Paul's Cathedral, where for over 2 years, maybe longer, I'm not sure, I led their junior high Sunday school. And by the way, when I was with Mennonite Church USA, I was also for 6 years holding the Peace and Justice portfolio of Pacific Southwest Mennonite Conference, which is regional. The work I'm going to be doing with Mennonite Mission Network is more national in scope, which, wow, I'm so humbled by. I can't believe that they want me. That they believe that based upon my body of work over the last 35 years in general and the last almost 5 years in particular, that they want me, as Ann Jacobs would say, who is head of urban ministries at MN and is one of my close mentors. I want you embedded in there. I want everyone to know what you know. I want everyone to be able to hear you speak out your theology. And I realize that talking about theology might make a few people twitch, but I've never not been a Christian. When I started this in 2018, I've always been a progressive Christian. I've always been a Christian that championed inclusive sexuality, a Jubilee way of looking at and distributing resources. I have worked for more mainstream organizations like Mennonite Church USA. They know what they're buying. And also electoral democratic work. But I'm a cult leader using cult-like tendencies. Oh, I was going to say, one of the things as a recovering evangelical that came out of Skyline Wesleyan here, well, it used to be in Lemon Grove before Lemon Grove had too many black people, and then it moved to Rancho San Diego. But when I was at Skyline Wesleyan, one of the things that they were really big on was cults. In junior high school, in high school, in college careers, in young adults, because I was at Skyline Wesleyan up until the time I was 30. They were fixated on cults. I have books in my house that I still have. What is a cult? I have, and a lot of it's wrong. A lot of it's outdated. A lot of it is, well, a lot of it's violent. And I knew, because we're still on the faith journey here, because you all who are going to surf over to Lace on Bay, Lace Off Bays, want to get it right because I want you to zoom over there. Lace Off Bays is that that when they say cult-like tendencies, they either don't know or don't care that I spend a lot of time in leadership at that church. And one of the things that we did a lot, too much in hindsight, was look at what cults were. And I got it wrong in a lot of ways. I'm going to stop this because we're at half an hour, but I want to talk to you about getting it wrong. I want to talk to you about the two Moors that are very much spiritual heroes for me. Not just spiritual heroes in terms of the theological sense, but also in how they have comported themselves in the wake of violence. Let's be clear. I haven't gotten death threats. They've tried to assassinate my character, and they certainly want to assassinate the organization that I founded. But I have not, opened my door over there and seen a dead pig's head drenched in blood, although I'm sure they would if they could. Oh my gosh, I'm just thinking that Scott would have quite the time cleaning that up. I just hope that they use a Dutch oven so all the blood and guts stay in the Dutch oven instead of getting on our really nice and relatively new carpet. It's about 5 years old. We really like it. I want to tell you about the path that Beth Moore and Russell Moore, who was the public theologian for Christianity Today, but who used to serve on the Morals and Ethics Board of the Southern Baptist Convention, how their lives have been pretty much over the same 15-year trajectory as I have in terms of how they stood up in 2016 and again in 2018 and again in 2020. First on the issue of Trump, then on the issue of racial justice within the Southern Baptist Convention, and then finally about the sex scandal in the Southern Baptist Convention that prompted Beth Moore to leave her denomination. She's a cradle. So is Russell Moore. She's a cradle Southern Baptist. She was born, I think, in 1957, so for 64 years. Russell Moore is about my age, so let's just call him late 50s. Cradle. The son of a preacher. Beth Moore herself has preachers in her family, and they walked away from a denomination where they did not just feel theological alignment, but social alignment too. That's what they knew. They're Southern Baptists. And so now they have Southern Baptists, people of their own denomination, saying that they wish Beth would die and they wish that they put the bullet through her head. Beth Moore lost half of her revenue since 2016. She used to play That sounds dreadful. I don't think she'd like that word. She used to serve upwards of 10,000. She filled arenas. She filled arenas. Last year, I had the privilege of seeing her, and she filled a 500-seat church about halfway to three-quarters. But she gave it everything she had. Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, boom, boom, boom. She gave her best. This might be apocryphal, but my understanding is that she's foregoing her own salary to make sure that her staff stays okay. And that staff is for a parachurch organization, technically non-denominational, but Beth herself was a staunch Southern Baptist. One of her son-in-laws is a Southern Baptist pastor. Made sure that they got paid, made sure that they stayed okay. That's who I imitate. That's who I want to follow. I don't think that's off base. As for Russell Moore, as part of the Religion and Ethics Task Force for the Southern Baptist Convention, he had to leave it. For a while there was an open question whether or not he was going to stay at Christianity Today as public theologian. They let him stay. And in fact, now he has a podcast. A good one. Wow! And the very first guest on that podcast was, guess who? Beth Moore. By the way, they're not related. Just happens to be. One's out of Tennessee, one's out of Arkansas. This is my theological and social and moral and ethical underpinnings. Now, if you think that that's cult-like, there is a group for you. It's called Lace Off Base. For a long time, ever since they started this 15 months ago, one of the challenges that I had given them was, if you have a problem with my methodology, with my theses, with my praxis, with me as a person, with my collection of wigs, start a group of your own. And guess what? They did! Good for them. Listen, if you align with who I am as a woman, as a thinker, as a writer, as a speaker, honey, there's nothing I could say that would dissuade you. If you don't align with it, there's nothing I could say that would convince you. We're going to keep talking about this because they keep popping up and they're doing some really, we were being nice about it, mischievous stuff. It's still Sunday in Pacific time, so I'm going to keep my words G-rated. But yeah, it's like, if you have anything, so I am very interested in knowing whether or not it's going to be this group that basically is going to bash the most boring middle-aged woman in an inner-ring suburb, working-class inner-ring suburb of San Diego County. Like, what are they going to say? They've already said things that are not factually wrong. I do take a salary. One of the things that people don't know, though, is that I give about $1,000 a month of it back. I pay for the Lace on Race Center for Racial Equity out of my own personal funds. I also pay for the studio space for when I'm doing serious videos where I want a very professional background, or when I am speaking to professional groups. And because this is great, I love it. But sometimes you want just to look a little bit more polished, and I pay for that too. I have never asked to be reimbursed for travel or any sort of professional development. My publications, my books, my journal articles that, because I'm not affiliated with the university, I pay for. Yeah, that's me. I talk a lot about people having skin in the game. I got skin in the game. But so does, wait for it, I'm going to get it right. I'm going to get it right. Lace Off Base. They have, I have to believe I have to believe that they're doing this in right spirit, with right motivation, with right action. There's both a video and an essay that I did right after the February debacle that talked about justification and proportionality. Oh, honey, I know I hurt someone. I know that I failed. I failed with more than one person. But then again, I fail every day. I fail every day. I fail with people who have walked with me faithfully for 40 years, and they still come. I fail with my mentors and my coaches and my teachers. Oh my goodness. I remember when I was doing catechism class at St. Paul's Cathedral, before I confirmed Episcopalian for that decade. And she was amazing, Christy. She's a priest now down south, but at the time she was a lay woman, and she was walking me through, she was my personal spiritual director, walking me through catechism. And every single time I'd say something, the same demeanor on her face, the same demeanor on her face. And she would say, again, and she'd say the same thing. And as someone who was pretty well versed in operant conditioning, because in my early 20s I was a very strict behaviorist when I worked with autistic adults, again, she was the precursor to, because this was, was there GPS back in the day? Like 2005, 2006, but in any case, she was like a GPS. You know how like when you're going on the wrong path, and then it says redirecting. It's not an exasperated redirecting. It's not an angry. It's not a contemptuous redirecting. It's just a fact, redirecting. So I'm supposed to make a left turn on Dale Street, and I make a right turn, and then the GPS says redirecting. That was her. And she said it over and over and over again over the course of a year, because it wasn't a question of me understanding Anglican doctrine. It was a question of my inculcating it and internalizing it. One of the great things about Anglican tradition is that it rests on what they call 3 stools: tradition, scripture, and reason. I'm taking it slightly out of order, but they're very careful to make sure that everybody knows that they're all equal. One does not supersede another. I would add 2 more. Community. Because you cannot walk the path of a disciple without community holding you. And Hesed heart. And I think about groups. I think about my group of leadership that they have a big fat problem with, because they think they know the makeup of the group. But right now I serve, if we want to use secular terms, and I minister to, if you want to use a little bit of God talk, a platform that is 94% white. That wasn't what I planned. But we have morphed our techniques and our focus over time. Now it's all about helping, guiding, inviting a mostly white cohort to be less dangerous, to be less violent. And white people are not only the only ones. One reason that I added "and white supremacy," because we used to stop the North Star at lessening and mitigating the harm endured by black and brown people. There was a period there, not a comma. And then we added "by white people." And then we added "by white supremacy." Listen, y'all. People of color can be every bit as harmful and violent and dangerous. And it is supremacist to idealize any of us to the point where you think that we can do no wrong. We can. I have. And if we're looking at this particular construction and context, I obviously has. Apparently, I harmed someone hard enough, or a group of people hard enough, that they want to do this Lace Off Base and the Instagram account and the Twitter account. They're all over the place. You'll love them. You'll love them. That saddens me. Not just because I feel that I failed them as an instructor, but I also failed them as a mentor. If you take nothing from me over the next 10 minutes, 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 years, is that you do not do violence. You do not visit violence on others, no matter how you identify. And for whatever reason, there is never a reason to visit violence when we're talking about nonviolent, full respect living. Somehow that did not get in, and I'll own that. But I want it to get in with you. So go. Lace Off Base. I've been talking for a while, so the screenshot should be below. You can see what all they're saying, and you can see that awful picture. Although it's not that awful, because I remember that day. I was living out my call, secularly, as a friend, and divinely, as a disciple. I was in prayer that entire 5 days. Now that's easy because as an Anabaptist, even though I've been kind of peripatetic over denominations, my commitment to Anabaptism has never wavered. As an Anabaptist, I believe that your life is a prayer. I was in prayer the entire time. I can't control what other people do, but I do know the woman who I say I want to be. And I know the woman that I am. And let me tell you, the reason I wake up in the morning, and the North Star is a big part of this, the reason I wake up in the morning is to narrow the gap further and further and further and further. It will never be a perfect pancake, as C.S. Lewis says, not until we have faces. But on both the secular level and in honor of the God that I serve unequivocally and who has guided my steps since my baptism. Actually, I've had two. I think that's the part that hurts the most. People who know my faith journey, people who walk with me now in my faith journey, the Mary Janes who didn't say anything to me today because we were doing a lot of stuff. It was congregational meeting. But as she walked past me, I was wearing a different wig, but as she walked past me, she kissed me on the forehead. As I was the counter today. It's one of my jobs as deacon here. I'm a deacon in a mainline progressive church. And yes, there is a character requirement and character discernment that is involved with my being a deacon. But anyway, I was counting and had an amazing talk with Jerry. And before that, I had another amazing talk with his wife. And then earlier this week, I had lunch with someone. And then tomorrow, I'm going to abide with someone. It is an insult not only to me to call me a cult leader or that I use cult-like techniques. Basically, all it is sociology, addiction science melded with sociology, spiritual direction, attachment theory, that's psychology, to a point, maybe some anthropology thrown in there, but basically it is saying that, it is an adaptation of two-person dyadic relationships adapted to groups for the purpose of initiating and maintaining and honoring and holding well cross-cultural and cross-racial relationships. We do that so that we can then take it outside. They don't know how many people I abide with. They don't know how many organizations I serve. But I know. call it what you want. The universe, God, Ralph, knows. And they're the only people I think of when I'm finished brushing my teeth and I'm laying my head down. Did I become closer to the woman I said I wanted to be? If the answer is yes, I sleep good. Even though I'm sad about my failures in terms of the people who started and are in this group, because obviously, if they would make a group like that, I failed. I failed. But I didn't fail in my Hesed heart. I did not fail in my intentions, and I did not fail in my motivation. Take that to the bank. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and if it resonates with you, and go and look at Lace. It's so hard to say. Lace off base. And if that's the sort of person you want to be, enjoy. One of the things I'm going to be doing, because we have, I don't want to use words of war, but we have people who are not necessarily good people or good actors, who are in a group that really isn't 7,000, really isn't 10,000 across all platforms. I'm going to start looking, and if it's names I don't know, or names from people who have been unkind in the past, I'm going to allow them to go. It won't be a bad bye. It's not a bad bye, as Bethmore says, because she says there's good buys and bad buys. But it's just telling the truth about the relationship that they have, both with me and with this community. We're going to be doing a Lace on Race Ask Me Anything. It will be in the website for registered users only. The takeout window has become something of the Wild West. I want to keep doing this for the next 20 years. With your help, I can. There's always another group. But if you're here, we're going to start holding each other to accountability. That includes what engagement looks like on all levels. I don't need 7,000 people on the Facebook page. I've never had them. I need people who are willing to do the work for the long haul, particularly when we're looking at relational ethics, particularly when we're looking at the upcoming 2022 elections, where everything I predicted in 2020 is coming to pass. That in this case, I wish I was a cult leader. I wish I was wrong. But I haven't been. White people just abandon it. And rather, this group, hold on, I can do it. Lace off base instead of moving the needle. They're doing this. It would be funny if it weren't so devastating. It would be funny if it was not doing deep violence to the people. I really hope they feel that they're doing a good thing. Because if they know they're malevolent, that just makes them evil. And frankly, I'd rather be a benevolent cult leader than an evil person. I said what I said. It is time for me to go. We're going to talk about Beth more and Russell more tomorrow, but right now, I want to fill up my water bottle and write some more. It's what I do. It's what I get paid for. Your financial engagement allows us to be able to say yes to grassroots individuals and organizations for which we give pro bono services. It allows us to be able to allow me to write resources on the bones of a book. It allows me to be able to abide with people one-on-one or virtually. It allows us to live out our idea that if we are going to talk about lessening and mitigating the harm to Black and brown people, that it also includes me. A woman I hope you feel is worth following, and if you don't, check out below. I love you all, including the people who were too cowardly to show their full names and faces and have been basically stalking my list of followers. I love them too. But Hesed heart demands accountability, demands calling a thing a thing. Because, as they say in a pejorative way, But I say, oh my God, with full heart, we are indeed new people doing new things in new ways. If you want to be an old person doing old things in old ways, if you want to bring the clock back to 1969 or 1964 or 1954 or Jim Crow laws or antebellum South, have I got a group for you. They're down below. However, if you want to stay with the crazy lady with the weird wigs, but hopefully a heart and a mind that resonates with you, stick around. I'm so proud of myself in staying under an hour. I love you guys so much. I love the work that I do and the people with whom I get to abide. I love the fact that I can use all of my faculties, my head, my heart, my gut, and my spirit in service. There's a song that I love by Point of Grace, and it says, begin with me. Turn my world upside down. Come change my heart around. Come keep on walking me clean. Begin with me. Come and renew my mind so I am more like you. If you think that that is a song of a cult leader, your group is ready for you. I love you. But I'm going to keep on walking, and I ain't going to give no quarter. Not even a little bit. But I am going to stop because I really do need water, and it's late to be in the office. Maybe I should go home. I love you.